has asked me to do a video for, I guess, our family for making our grandmother's pie crust. As everybody seems to like it, but nobody knows how to make it, and the only one who comes close to making it is Sue. So we've got 2 cups of flour in a bowl, and we're going to add to this a ½ cup of oil and a ¼ cup of milk and a pinch of salt, and that's all we need for the crust. We've already cut up the apples and added sugar and cinnamon to taste for the filling, and usually we make one big pie, but because we're in a hurry today and we don't have too much time, we're going to split. We're going to make 2 smaller ones. So I've got a variety of different size. These are the medium to small. I have much bigger ones, and the 2 we're going to go with are the ones over there. So that's it for the ingredients for the pie crust. All you need is something like this to help mush the crust and blend it so that you're not working it with your fingers or using a fork. And it doesn't matter what kind. I use canola, Crisco, Weston. It's all the same. Okay. And a ¼ cup of milk. A pinch salt. And stir. And then you can adjust it. If it's too dry, you can add a little bit more milk. If it's still too dry, you can add a little more oil. But pretty much that's the simple recipe. It should lump together, be soft, not too dry. It looks pretty good. And to feel, you can ball easily. So we're ready. This is it. That's all there is to making the pie crust. What I do is I'll cut this in half, put a piece of wax paper over it while I get ready to roll it. Wax paper for each side, because as you roll it out, it'll go over the edge, and you don't want that. I use the second paper for. It's not rolled out 100% yet, but so that the edges don't go off. I made that a little short. Oh well. Pretty much be it. The bigger the dish, the bigger the size of crust you need to make, and sometimes I'll have a crust that's like this big to go in one of the bigger size. I'm just gonna put this in the middle. Over. We're going to have enough crust left over to make some crust cookies afterwards too, since the pie pan's pretty small. So otherwise we're going to have too much. the dough's forgiving, you can just squeeze it back together if it rips. And usually when I do this, if I know I'm going to make 2 pie crusts, I'll make the 2 bottoms first, put the apples in it, and then make the top crust. That way the dough doesn't dry out. And you want to press it down, and then with a fork we're going to make prick holes in it. I'm just going to put that off to the side for right now. Put this in the refrigerator. Pre-made mixed the apples, and you can see they're a little bit juicy as it sat in the, can you see the juice down at the bottom of the bowl? So now we know we need to put a little tapioca in there, or you can use Ritz crackers or saltine crackers. Not a lot, you don't want to make it too dry, but if it's too wet, it might be mushy. And I just throw some in here and lay them around the bottom. And I like my pie shell to come up like this. So, now since we've already got the sugar and the cinnamon on there, we don't have to worry about adding it. I used to just put the apples in, and as I was doing it, I would put the sugar, or just sprinkle the sugar on top. I don't really measure. I just kind of do it by eyeball, but kind of hard for some people. So I figured if we pre-mix it, then everything's coated. And then I'll put a little butter on there. We have some butter here. And usually I just put little thin pieces in. It gives it a richer flavor. You don't need a whole lot, but that's good enough. Okay. Now, normally all these apples would have gone in one pie, one big pie. But since we're doing too small, I think I would have added like another 2 apples to this, but since that was all we have for apples, I'll just make this one a little smaller. And all the juice that was in here, I just, pour over the apples. Don't waste it, because your sugar and your cinnamon is in there. So then, to make sure that we have enough to absorb some of the extra fluid, you can just sprinkle a little tapioca on, and that will absorb. You can put it on the bottom, on the top. But what happens is, while it's cooking in there, the juices come up underneath the crust and soak over it, and it'll absorb. You don't have to worry about it. All right, I need some butter for this one. I didn't put any butter in the middle. It'll melt down, it's fine. And okay. All right. We rolled out another pie crust, made another batch, so it'll give us our 2 tops. Oops. And that can always be fixed. And I'm just going to take this and flip it over and put it right on top of the pie. Try to make it even, center it over the pie. Lift that off. And what we do with our knife, here it is. The extra, we're just going to cut off some of this extra dough again. And you don't want to cut too much of your pie crust off, because we're going to roll this now. You're going to lift it up under the other piece, roll it over. Roll it over. Okay, now I'm just going to like smooth it out to make a ridge. And the other one will crimp with the fork. There's two ways of doing it, so that you just have a different edge on it. Depends on what you want. This is more the size that it should be. This is a little thick. And then to make the ripple, pinch with your fingers. And then when you're done pinching the edges, you need to cut holes in the top of the crust to let the steam out. And I usually put the letter of the alphabet on it for what pie's in it, because sometimes I put them in the freezer. I always make two, and I will save one in the freezer for another time. All the pies freeze pretty well. And if I'm not sure, because once they all have the tops on, you can't tell really what's in there. So I'll put an A for apple, or a P for peach, or a B for blueberry, or black raspberry. And that one's done. This edge is a little different. We can crimp it with the fork. Same idea as turning the dough under. And then we're going to cook it at 425 for 15 minutes, and then turn it down to 350 for 45 minutes. I did say that at 425 for 15 minutes. That's going to brown your crust. And the bottom of the pan, you can't see the bottom of the pan, but you don't want to have doughy crust in the bottom, and that helps cook it at the bottom. If you see that your crust is getting too brown, you put the light on and kind of look in there periodically, check on it. If it gets too dark because your thermostat's off on your oven, all you need to do is turn it down sooner, but I've never had to do that. So a different
turn it down
crust
to
edge from the 425 to 350. Okay, this one just has the crimp edge and our oven's ready. Another tip is to put a cookie sheet underneath your pies, so if they overflow, you don't make a mess of your oven, because you spend more time cleaning your oven if you don't have a self-cleaner or you don't use it. So, and then they're ready to go in the oven.
Go ahead.
Okay, since Pat needs to leave and it takes her an hour to get home, and John's waiting for his pie, she'll have to cook hers at home because she wouldn't be able to take that home with her. So, freezing. She can freeze it just the way we have it here. She's wrapped it with saran wrap first. I would wrap foil around that, seal it good, and then put it in a plastic bag. You can put it right in the freezer, and she can cook it at another time. Same directions for cooking, but since it has not been cooked, when she takes it out, she's got to be careful. Still have to cook it at the 450 for 15 minutes. It's a little higher because you want to brown that frozen crust. And then you turn it down to 350 for 45 minutes, or until it looks brown enough, because you want nice brown crust. And then, or she can just take it home and throw it in the oven and eat it tonight.